cracking?
How's it going?
It's going well.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you.
Yeah. So we're just gonna give an intro to what this is. I just got new ear headphones, so hopefully these are gonna work. Um, this is like an intro to Tech Talks, which we're gonna be hopefully doing a little bit of, and you're joining us, Tony, who is our lead support, based in Portland.
Sure.
And I think what we wanted to talk to about today was update mode, which
Sure.
we get a lot of people messaging in and asking us about when, say, they turn up to their cafe and their scale is saying update, but they don't remember putting it in update mode.
Yeah.
Um, so do you want to explain a little bit about it?
Sure. Sometimes we'll get contacted by customers. They just walked into their cafe. It's 6 a.m. and they need to dial in their coffee, and the scale is telling them that it needs to update. Um, our scales won't prompt you to update them on their own. Um, So an example would be like maybe like your phone or your computer. Those would maybe prompt you to update, but our scales won't do that. They're unfortunately not that smart. But what happens is, so say the person the night before was going to plug in the scale to charge, and they're pressing and holding the power button while
Okay.
plugging it in. So I'm going to do that right now. If you're holding the power button while plugging it in, it's going to display update. This is different than when you manually place the scale in update. If you notice, it's closer to the tare button. It's aligned right. Um, if you manually place the scale in update, it'll be more centered. Let's see if I can do this side by side.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
So,
you can definitely see that.
so this is closer to the tare button. This is more centered. Uh, so yeah, I mean, we've all been there. We're trying to we're like rushing to get out at the end of the night. We're exhausted. We had a rush, and so you're just like plugging in that scale, making sure it's ready for that opener. You're doing your part, and you're just not paying attention, and you're holding that power button and you're plugging it in, and it just says update. You probably don't even notice it when you're doing it. So the person in the morning comes into the cafe and it's just like, I don't know what to do, and then we get like the frantic email, like,
Everything is
um,
broken. What do I do?
yeah, pretty much. Our support team is the majority of our support team is based on the West Coast. We have one team member in the Midwest, so we might not get to your email until like say potentially 9 a.m. on Pacific time. Yeah, but no need to freak out. So if that happens, like you walk into your cafe and it just says update out of nowhere and you're like, I don't know what to do, just literally unplug and plug back in and you're set.
Nice.
That's it. It's super easy. Just unplug the scale. Don't hold the power button and plug back in. And this can occur on our Lunar, our Pixis, and the Pro Model S. It will not occur with the original Pearl. That's due to just different touch sensors and a different board.
I've got all the scales here. Let's see if I can make the Pixis do it. Don't know if I can. But say if someone does have a scale that prompts them to update, do they have to update it?
So that's a great question. So if it prompts you to update it, it is from that holding the power button. Susie, I would not recommend you do that with your Pixis unless you have our little beta tester app.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, there are times where you will have to update. It's kind of a funky thing. it's 99% of the time you're going to be able to just unplug and plug back in. Um, there are like the super rare occasions that you have to connect to your Acaia updater app and update the scale. But with the Acaia updater app, it's super easy. Don't have any other apps open, any of the other Acaia apps open. You should be able to just connect right away, regardless if it's Android or iOS. It's a pretty fast connection. The update could take like a couple minutes at most, but again, like you should be able to just unplug and plug it back in.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Um, like, is there any other things that come up when like it says update as well? Like,
In regards to if it'll just display update out of nowhere, no, that's just pretty straightforward. Unplug, plug back in. It is the results. You'll see like it is aligned right where it says like it's next to the tear button. Yeah, there's not really much else to it. There are times where your scale, like you're manually updating the scale, and it will get stuck in update. And that's usually from like maybe you get a text message and you leave the updater app to look at your text message, or maybe receive some other notification, and that'll just stop the update. So if you leave the updater app in the middle of an update, that can stop the update, and you have to disconnect and reconnect.
nice. And say if you have a scale that you're trying to turn it on and it won't turn on, what do you do?
So it depends.
Well, what's the usual fix for something like that?
So if you're trying to power on your scale and it won't turn on, we need a couple like indicators of what's going on. So first and foremost, I would check and see if it charges. If it's displaying a charging light and it won't power on, my first thing would be, did you recently update the scale? And maybe that thing happened where like you received a notification, you exited the app, and you thought, oh well, the scale must be fully updated. I need to, can you continue doing like whatever I need to do? So that scale could be stuck in update. What's up, Jono? The scale could be stuck in update, and if you haven't recently updated your scale, there could be a chance that you need to perform a hard reset. I would definitely suggest reaching out to support@acaia.co, and we'll walk you through how to do a hard reset. I would not suggest just like jumping in and trying to open up the scale or anything on your own. You will break your warranty.
There's one thing you're definitely going to break. It will be your warranty.
Mm-hmm.
And
we can probably fix your scale, but
no one can fix the warranty.
Yeah.
So we do have lots of questions coming in. So we can, if people have any questions about updating and scales, bricking and stuff, please ask us. But this is one which is pretty good. Should I store my lunar vertically when not in use?
You can. I would maybe have it next to something just so it won't fall over. Yeah, we suggest that all scales be stored vertically, but make sure that there's something kind of like you can store it in between a couple bags of coffee. You don't want to like put pressure on it, but yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah, because I think like the main thing is that not stacking them like on top of each other.
Yes, and don't store it on your espresso machine. The heat from the cup warmers will like cause the load cell to expand. It's not going to like, if you're doing it every now and then, it's not going to damage it, but you have that aluminum load cell like expanding and contracting from being exposed to the heat. So like when you take it away from the top of the espresso machine, it's cooling back down. You're probably going to want to like calibrate after that.
Because I've definitely seen people at the end of shifts. I've seen like a lot of coworkers who used to be guilty of it. They would store like all the scales on top of the espresso machine at the end of the night. So they would
Yeah,
clean the bar and put everything on top. And it would happen even if, say, they expose the lunar to a lot of water. The
yeah.
thing was to like dry it out on top of the espresso machine. But
You would think that's a good idea, but it's actually not the greatest idea. Um, yeah, if you expose the liner to a fair amount of water, just throw it on the back counter, just let it dry out. At most, you would need 24 hours to dry it out.
it should be fine then. Here's another one. Thanks for that question. What's the best way to charge my scale? This is like a big question.
Yeah, the
With
best way to charge your scale. So the battery life on all of our scales should be right around 24 hours of continuous use. Um, so you would only need to charge your scale maybe like once a week at like a high volume coffee bar. So at the end of the week, like if you have a Sunday cleaning checklist, I would suggest like plugging it in only on Sundays. Um, it's kind of like a cell phone battery or a computer battery. You don't want to you want to allow it to drain all the way so that the battery stays top notch and in good health. Imagine like just constantly charging your cell phone at like when it reaches like 90%.
mm,
It's not necessary, and also you're doing damage to the battery in the
yeah.
process.
And I think another thing is definitely when charging to use the correct cable, like the cable that came with the lunar.
Yeah, just a micro USB charging cord works. If that gets damaged or yeah, gets lost, I would suggest buying one from like a big box store, Radio Shack, Target, Best Buy, or like the equivalent of that. I wouldn't suggest purchasing one from like a bodega.
Hmm.
It could just be a cheap quality. Even purchasing stuff off of like Amazon is probably not the best idea.
Nice. And if people have follow-up questions, please let us know. Okay. There's loads of questions. Uh, oh, that's a good one. What should I do if my scale gets stuck when turning it on? So it gets stuck on Acaia.
So what's occurring is when you power on your scale, it needs to find a 0 point. Um, and so when it's loading, it's just searching for that 0 point. If it's unable to find a 0 point, it's experiencing some kind of fluctuation in weight or drift.
Hmm.
This is almost always due to physical contact. So if it's on a lunar, the base of your scale uh, could be twisted. So maybe the base is touching the shell. And so from that little point of contact, that little pressure, that's causing the scale to drift just like so much to where it can't find 0. So you would just want to adjust that base over.
Nice. And like I know
Uh,
that
Go ahead.
say if it's on an unstable surface, it won't even sometimes.
Yeah, totally. With like say like a table, uh, or if you have it like next to. I remember this is probably like 3 years ago at Expo, or maybe 4 years ago at Expo in Atlanta. They did a AeroPress competition, and we donated scales, and it was held outside, and they were on like these like super wobbly tables. Shout out to Liz Chai for making things work. She hosted that event. Um, and all we did was just kind of adjust some of the settings to kind of help stabilize it so it wouldn't be as sensitive and susceptible to like wind.
Nice. Yeah, because there was even I think we got like a email, might have been last year or the year before, where we had someone email in and they said that they had started brewing and it got stuck on the Acaia and the numbers were jumping and they couldn't figure out why, and then it turned out to be an earthquake.
That's right. I forgot about that. They
Yeah.
followed up like an hour later. Oh, never mind. It turns out it was just an earthquake.
Yeah,
Forgot
because the
about
whole
that.
the whole shop was shaking. Don't worry, the scale is fine now.
Mhm. Too good. So yeah, if just kind of circling back, if the scale gets stuck on Acaia, it's just trying to find a 0 point. Reach out to us. Depending on the scale that you have, we have different troubleshooting for say like a pearl and a lunar. The pearl space can't twist the same way that a lunar space can, so there could be something else causing that. It could be like say like a wire on the inside became unclipped and it's touching both the base and the shell, so it's touching two surfaces. So it's unable to find a 0 point because it's experiencing pressure, just the slightest pressure. It's kind of wild, and that's not allowing it to find 0.
Whoop. Sorry, that was me. Why did I do that?
Peace out, Susan.
I just went purple. Let's see. How do I how do I make my scale display a fun phrase when turning it on? So this is actually, I can answer this one. This is a feature of the Pearl Model S because of the LED board that we have in it. I'm kind of trying to, I have my Pearl S here, but I can't remember what message I got it to say. So I don't want it to say, just in case it's it's something good. It's fine. Let's see if I can get it to show.
It's just a passive aggressive message to your roommates: do the dishes.
Yeah, stay home. Well, this one says stay home. But
Right.
we had like I think in the beginning when we all got our scales we were making them say "what's up"
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah, that's a feature of the Pro Model S, and it's something you can log into the Brew Guide app to change through the manual settings. So it's like the very end thing when you're going through the Brew Guide after you've connected,
Yeah.
and it will let you put your welcome messages on. Which, yeah, they can be aggressive if you want them to be.
Or just passive aggressive.
Yeah, always a little bit passive aggressive. Can I use the Pixis for espresso? Yes.
Totally. I would not recommend it for dosing out your espresso. We've actually had like maybe 5 or 6 people reach out recently in regards to the Pixis, and using it as kind of a multifunctional scale. You can totally use it as a shot scale. We definitely recommend it for dosing out tea, since tea is incredibly light. It's like the perfect scale for tea. But we've had some customers kind of overestimate how large it is in comparison. So, let's see right here.
Yeah, I've got my one.
Yeah.
You do the
This is the
makeup thing where you do
Lunar.
this.
Yeah. And this is the Pixis to give you an idea. I have like all of the scales in front of me. I could do a little an example. And this is a portafilter trying to balance. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how like well that's coming through. Um, but yeah, so like the capacity, the weight capacity of the Pixis is 500 grams. Your average portafilter is about 450 grams to 500 grams. So anything over 500 grams is going to damage the scale's load cell on the Pixis. The Lunar and the Pearl, those are more ideal for like a multifunctional, like we're using this for pour over, we're using it for dosing out espresso, using it as a shot scale. So totally
Yes.
can use it as a shot scale. Again, the footprint is super, super tiny. see. Walk with me. So, as an example, that's like one of the Heath Ceramics dimmies. And here's one of the Acme, one of the Acme flat white cups, as an example. So yeah, you're working with a pretty limited footprint with the Pixis. It'll totally work with like a demi, and like to-go cups. That would work as well. To-go cups.
And like the Pixis is so sensitive that it will actually pick up if the espresso machine is vibrating slightly as it's coming up to bar pressure.
Yeah, totally. Due to the sensitivity, like some people start to like wonder, like, is the scale, is it drifting? And it's just responding to the vibration of like the pump turning on. Also, steam coming up from the drip tray. Steam coming up from the drip tray can cause the scale to drift just like a little bit. And since it's so sensitive, you're seeing that fluctuation of like the hundredth of a gram. It seems like it's like wildly fluctuating, but it's seriously just like less than a tenth of a gram. So.
Yeah, because we've had questions come in where people have been using like the Pearl or the Lunar even for brewing, pour overs, and they said at the end of every brew it would start, the numbers would start decreasing, which was actually due to the evaporation of water.
Yeah, I remember when I first got my Pearl, I reached out to the sales rep and was like, "Hey, I think the scale's broken." It's like, no. And the trick to kind of figure that out was to just place like a saucer on top of whatever the carafe was to show the steam getting trapped in, so you wouldn't see it drift post putting the saucer on top.
So we had a question there from Jono. I would say Jono in Ireland. I say Jono.
Yeah, Jono.
I love the Pearl. It's such a workhorse, but the USB port inside the scale tends to get loose over time. This makes recharging difficult. Has Acaia considered wireless charging? So I think that's actually like two questions, really.
Yeah, Jono. Like, slow down your questions, bud. Jono's I believe this is, if it's Jono, I know. We used to work together back in Chicago. So yeah, if it gets loose over time, we can replace the charging port. If you're based in the U.S., we can provide you with a charging port, I think it's $6 maybe, plus like $4 shipping. We can send it directly to you, and you can replace it yourself. We have like a pretty thorough video and like instructions that go along with it. We don't really offer it for the Lunar because the Lunar is a tighter space, but that charging port's like super cheap to replace, and we could also replace it for you. We charge a service fee, but we'll update the scale, and we'll also perform a linear calibration to kind of get it back to those factory settings. In regards to wireless charging, we've only received a couple requests. It would be interesting. I'm not sure how wireless charging would affect the load cell, if there's any effect at all. I don't know if magnets are involved.
Yeah. Can I sue? I think it means can I use? You can also sue the Orion, but you're not going to get anything from it, just for some beans. Can I use the Orion to weigh out bags of coffee in a production setting? Yeah, actually we have quite a few. There was like Black and White Roastery was using it, and I know some.
They have two.
Yeah, I know some roasteries in Europe who are definitely using it for dosing kind of personal coffee bags, like so 500 grams or 300 grams and stuff. And they said like it made it way faster.
Yeah. My partner used to work in production, and I originally offered up an Orion. She's like, "Oh no, I can I can do it myself, and then was getting frustrated with how long some stuff was taking, and then just found I offered up an Orion for her to borrow, and it definitely like not only did it like speed up workflow, it also like helped with like strain on her wrist from uh, like dosing out individual bags with the scoop. You know, she was able to just fill up a 2 kilogram hopper and just dose and dose and dose and dose. And you can fit one of those like bean funnels, like bean scoop funnels, directly under the doser.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few people use them.
Yeah,
Um,
we partnered with Onyx when they did their advent calendar, and they used like 2 or 3 Orions to dose out for their advent calendar.
nice,
They said that it helped speed up production for them.
nice. I have the Pro Model S Acaia. This is Diego by Cafe, or Diego X Cafe. And the truth is, it's extraordinary balance. The brand is great, thanks. It's the best in the market, but as a user, I also think the Acaia should give a better USB cable to charge with. Yeah, it's definitely something we can consider. Like, I think it works well enough, but it's like any other cable. It can,
Can
like,
wear
if
over
you,
time.
yeah, it will go, like, if you're using the Apple cables, they break after a little bit.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah, as
that's
well.
a great example. Yeah, we've had some improvements in the quality of micro USB ports, and also not so much the cables. The cables are pretty much the same, but we've had some improvements with the ports. So we upgraded the Lunar's port in the last 2 years, and the same with the Pearl.
Yeah.
And the Pro Model S has like just like super tight upgraded ports. We upgraded the port for Pro Model S. Uh, the micro USB connector won't plug in all the way, but it's a tighter fit and like a way more secured connection.
Yeah, I think if people can see that, it's just a reflection here. It's like really reinforced there. Because I think
Yeah,
some people thought it was an issue that they couldn't get the USB cable in the whole way,
yeah, yeah.
but that's just how it is by design.
By design, yeah. And
Yeah.
we're talking like 1-2 millimeters that won't insert all the way.
Um, okay, can the battery be replaced on the Lunar?
Yes,
It can be replaced by our team.
by our team.
Yeah.
Um, recently stopped allowing customers to replace the battery in the Lunar, just because we have seen so many people maybe not install it properly. We had provided instructions in the past, but we've seen so many issues kind of followed up with that, that it's so much more worth it for us to just knock it out. We'll also check for any other damage or any other issues. I'd mentioned like previously, like with the scale not being able to exit the loading screen. If you installed the battery and you didn't properly wrap the wires, those wires could be bowing out and touching both the shell and the base, and that would cause the scale to drift. So you may have resolved one problem, but you've just created a new one. Whereas if we're installing that, we're going to check that, we're going to see that, and we're going to make sure that it's going out to you properly.
Yeah. Because like the Lunar is a 2-year warranty, and like if just to the person who's asking, if you are having an issue with the battery, you can actually just either message us here on like the Acaia account or even email us to support at acaia.co, and we
Yeah,
can like, depending where you're based, we can get you either in touch with ourselves or in touch with like our local reseller who are trained to how to fix these as well.
yeah. Also, the battery life on all of the scales is roughly about, I think, 4 years, 3 to 4 years. It kind of depends on frequency of use. If you're a home user, you'll probably get like 6 years out of the battery. If you're like a high volume cafe, you're looking at like 3 to 4 years.
Mm.
And then if you're wanting to update the battery beyond your warranty, it's around like $10 to $15 for the battery itself. And then you have another, 3 to 4 years of high volume use. They're totally workhorses. If you're based in the U.S. or in Europe, we have service centers based in both locations, and we can probably replace any or all parts. If you've just completely damaged your scale by some freak accident, yeah, reach out to us. We can usually offer either repairs or offer a refurb.
Yeah.
Instead of just like investing in a brand new scale. We would want to exchange that damaged scale for the refurb and also charge a refurbishing fee, but it would be less than buying a brand new scale. We do not offer refurbished scales outright. So
Yeah, I think someone just on battery life, I think it was maybe last year where someone turned up to our stand in Berlin and they had an original Kickstarter Pearl, which
yeah,
the
totally.
battery was just starting to like kind of go, and that's good for years.
Yeah, this Pearl that I have, my first Pearl, it's from 2014. It has its original battery, so it's holding up. 6 years of use as of last year, or as of last month.
Nice. Okay. By the way, if anyone has any more questions, you can put them into the little question box at the bottom. We may miss questions if like people are writing a lot, just to let you know, but we can bring them up if we do it this way. So
Yeah,
is the Lunar suitable as a single scale for both espresso and pour over? I would say yes.
totally. Yeah. Um, if you're brewing mostly pour over, we're always going to push you towards the Pearl. Um, but if you're looking for both, if you have an espresso machine and you're trying to weigh out both shots and do some pour over, the Lunar is kind of is the way to go for sure.
Yeah, I actually usually use my Lunar to brew AeroPresses in the morning, which
Nice.
is like a longer brew. But I think especially if you have a carafe that's hot on a Lunar, would you use the heat resistant pad?
Um, I think the shell of the Lunar is going to function as like a heat sink, so it's going to absorb most of that. Whereas, say, with your Pearl, the heat transfer from the carafe to your load cell is going to happen a little faster. Um, if you're trying to use a Lunar as your if you have like say 3 Lunars as a pour over bar at a cafe, you could definitely see the heat affecting the load cell over time. But if it's just a home use, yeah, you could definitely use it at home with no issues.
Yeah, I think it's just I've seen people use Chemexes on top of Lunars, but it's quite a balancing act when
Yeah,
doing it.
it's possible. A 6 cup Chemex will fit on a Lunar, no problem. You'll probably need to connect to either Acaia Coffee or the Brewmaster app to see the display, especially as like coffee starts to fill the bottom carafe portion of the Chemex. Uh, it will
Yeah.
block your display.
How can we purchase one of those Acaia hats? The
They're
one
sold
that
out.
they're sold out at the moment.
Yeah,
But I would recommend people just to keep an eye on the website and on social media because we're always releasing new stuff over time. So if we ever announce anything, it will be on social media.
yeah,
And we'll have someone modeling it as well.
yeah.
Is there a function in Acaia Pro that you use to practice the consistency of pouring technique? I guess you could not the pearl itself, but if you connect maybe Brewmaster to it.
Brewmaster or I would highly recommend the Brew Bar app, available for iPad. It's an iOS only app, um, but you can dial in your coffee. I think Brew Bar 1 is just like the most underutilized app that we have available. There's like a ton built into it. Um, you can dial in a coffee, set like flow rates and like pulses, and then you can like do a drag and drop and brew with that recipe, and then do like a compare and contrast of like how close you are to that recipe. That's what I would suggest with the original model Pearl. With the Pearl Model S, you can actually have a display of both your wait time and your flow rate. And there's even like a flow rate practice mode.
Yeah, there's like the triple display. If I can get
Mm-hmm.
it up. This one. My scale's going crazy. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I've used the practice mode one, and I think it's a really good one for teaching when you're teaching like
Like
in a
100%, yeah.
cafe or like you're teaching workshops. It's so good to kind of like it's a good visualization for people who are being taught to like when you're pouring too fast or too slow or anything.
Yeah.
And we had the competition in Boston. Was it Boston? Yeah, in Boston, where people had to like match the brew of like
Yeah.
a well-known barista or like someone who was competing that weekend,
Yeah.
which got people very competitive, I will say.
This is true. I think was a Lunar or Pro Model S on the line for that?
A Pro
We were
Model
giving
S.
out those like giving out those out daily. So
Yeah, there was a couple of people. I think you could do it as many times as you wanted as well. And there was definitely a couple of people who kept coming back to like get better.
yeah,
They would like do one in the morning and then go for a walk around the around all the stalls and booths and stuff and come back and like do it again.
yeah.
So so okay, you can't see the whole thing. Basically the scale starts the timer automatically after once it's hit zero point 0.5 grams of a shot. Do you guys dial in your coffee from the start of extraction? I think it's more of a coffee question. I there's another there is another setting mode on the Lunar, as I assume
Yeah.
they're using, is that you can use the cup mode.
So there's the auto tare auto start timer. It's the triangle plus square. That's how I use my Lunar, and it starts from the time that. So what I do is I'll grab my cup, set it on the Lunar. It auto tares, and as I'm like starting my shot, the timer's auto starting.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah,
by the time I'm like pulling away from either like pressing the button or pushing the paddle, the timer's starting like within sync.
yeah. Yeah, because I usually that's how I brew espresso is like once the at the same time as turning on the machine, if you're
Mm-hmm.
using like the paddle machine, I'll put the cup down and then it will automatically start the timer. So I know from the time of turn on the machine to when the extraction's finished is
Yeah,
usually how I do it. So not once the coffee hits the cup, but once the cup is onto the scale.
same. But we do offer kind of both versions because we understand there's different strokes for different folks.
Hmm.
You know, espresso, coffee, all are kind of brewed a different way everywhere. And we're not going to say like this way is the way you brew coffee. This way
Yeah.
is not allowed. You can also
Not allowed.
adjust. Yeah. Uh, you can also adjust the sensitivity of like how quickly the timer kicks on to detect at point 0.1, I think. That's within like one of the latest firmware updates.
So for that question, if you search for Brew Bar in the App Store, it's on iPad exclusively.
Correct.
Yeah.
It
So it's
is due to like how much information is displayed in the app. It has to be an iPad only. Even if you had like the largest, like if you had like a Galaxy Note or you had the whatever the iPhone XL, whatever the largest iPhone Pro model, um, it would still be like too small of a screen to
mm,
display all the information properly.
yeah, because you can connect the stag kettle and stuff to it as well.
Yeah,
I'm sorry you're crying. I would use the brew, maybe Brewmaster would be probably good as well to use.
yeah. We're hoping to work in some of the features from Brew Bar to Brewmaster, where a lot of the focus is going towards Brewmaster.
Okay, nice. So we're just
So,
gonna maybe I'd say wrap up in about 5 minutes. Is there
yeah.
anything else you would like to talk about? Anything that like we've touched on?
Um, I think anything else to talk about? Like a pro tip, use your heat resistant pads. I can't recommend this enough. Like I'll go into cafes and they're using the Pearl as a portafilter scale, but they don't have the heat pad on there. And so let's see if I can just like swing this around. So they'll have it like this, or it's like kind of sliding off. Um, but yeah, if you have your heat pad on there, you can. It's not going anywhere. I'm sorry, it's hard to. There we go. Yeah, you can have your portafilter directly in the center of your scale. It's not going anywhere. If you're brewing with it at home or in the cafe, it's protecting that load cell. It's allowing like heat to escape through like the little grooves. Um, yeah, I feel like this is just like way underutilized.
Mm.
Um, if you're using like a spouted portafilter, the spouts will like fit into the grooves. It also like just protects your the top of your scale from like, getting scratched up.
I also use mine to open jars.
That's yes, I've used that as well. That's
Yeah,
great.
I think it's like we never talk about it, and I probably should do a post or something about it. But it is like the other use I use for all of my heat resistant pads is
Yeah.
opening jars.
I feel like Akash from Curtis posted something about it in Barista Magazine, how it's like one of his favorite tools.
Yeah.
Like a worst case scenario, you could use it as a tamp mat as well.
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen people using them as temp mats for sure.
Yeah.
So this is more of a yeah, no, it's the jar trick is so good. Um, this is more like it's not a coffee, it's not an Acaia question, but do y'all, it sounds so weird when I say it with my accent. Do y'all use customized water for coffee? Is this the I guess like this would be like the made water.
Like third wave water.
Yeah, third wave water, and then the one from Kelowna, the peak
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
jug. Is it a peak jug? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Um, Personally, I've done it in the past. It's not something I keep up with. It's mainly because I always forget to buy distilled water. I don't have the peak jug. I thought about purchasing it. Uh, we're very lucky in Portland to have like pretty solid water, and I just use that to brew espresso and like, brew coffee.
Yeah,
It's just like straight tap.
I was taught how to use. I was taught how to make water for coffee. Like so, did all the information on like creating the compounds and like what you're meant to add and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so I remember I was given a sheet, like a recipe for making my own water. And I don't know
Hmm.
what I did, but every coffee I made with it turned out tasting like beef. So I'm not gonna do it again. I'm
Nice.
gonna leave it up to the professionals.
One of my first cuppings I went to, I remember, I'm trying to think, all the coffees I tried, maybe they were Kenyans, and they all tasted like beef jerky to me. And like maybe like some kind of like spiced tomato would have been like uh, maybe a flavor note to call out, but I just kept saying like, yeah, this just tastes like beef jerky, and the owner of the shop was there and got pretty offended and didn't talk to me for about a year.
uh, to the Brew Bar app. Anyways, you guys, you can add an AeroPress recipe to the Brew Bar app. Can you?
Um, I imagine you could add a recipe. It's more like Brew Bar is more designed around flow rate, and so I'm sure with AeroPress, like you want to agitate it X amount, you want to add that water within a certain amount of time. It's not so much built around like full immersion brewing. It's more pour over. But I imagine you could. I haven't really played around with AeroPress for Brew Bar.
Yeah.
I think ultimately you're pouring to a desired weight, right? And then for AeroPress, you're pulling it off the scale. Please pull it off the scale.
Please pull it off the scale.
And then pressing. So your in-display weight is going to appear different within Brew Bar.
Yeah.
Especially because if you're in a cafe, using it in a cafe setting, each AeroPress is going to weigh different. So that negative weight will appear different for each different AeroPress.
Yeah, and I think even if the thing with AeroPress is like if you have like a group of them and clean them, you're not going to put them back together like you did the first time.
Totally.
You know, all mixes and matches, and really
Totally.
old ones will just like slip off pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they're FDA safe, the water. I'm in Germany, so I wouldn't know. I know that everyone uses for the AeroPress competitions here, everyone makes their own water.
Yeah, that's pretty common. I think just for like most competitors, they'll go with making their own water, just for the sheer fact that like, you know, if you're using tap water in like Oklahoma, the tap water is not going to be the same in like Los Angeles or Austin or wherever. So just having like that consistent water flavor is huge. It's like a huge impact. It accounts for so much of your coffee. It's like 98% coffee or 98% water.
Okay, I think we're good. We've answered loads of questions, so
Sure.
Thank you so much for doing the almost hour here. If anyone, we're probably going to be doing this again. And if anyone has any topics that you would like us to discuss, like certain things that you wanted to see us talking about, please let us know. You can send us a direct message or maybe even comment on a post, and I'll be able to answer you.
Yeah, send those direct messages to Acaia.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
If you have any Acaia related questions, send them to Acaia or support@acaia.co. I'm happy to answer questions, but I try to like keep my IG personal and work separate.
Yeah, and I'm always usually able to answer stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.